So there
That's the
shouldn't be,
plan.
okay,
Yep, so they're removing the pavement, they're gonna put in some loam and then reseed it with a native New England wildflower mix. What they're proposing for the barrier, if you will, to prevent, vehicles from going into that area once it's loamed and seeded, is putting rocks in along the perimeter near the road. So that's what the game plan is.
Through the chair.
Yep. Matt?
This is Matt. Just a quick thought on this. Some of those wildflower mixes can be rather slow to germinate. So they might want to put in some sort of like a nurse seed mix, like an annual rye or something with it, just to get it stabilized quickly. And then typically the wildflowers might take a year or two to really come in there.
Get established. Okay. That's a good comment. Can we just make a note of that to convey it to the DPW?
Certainly.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments from the commission or audience members? And it's an exemption request, so we don't need to vote on that. All right. What time we got? We've got a few more minutes. All right. Hopkinton DPW town-wide drainage. This is a renewal of a determination of applicability request.
Yes, they're up for a renewal. And the permit's been working pretty well so far. This one's from 2003, the other one's from 2004, and the tree one is from 2008. And we've been able to give renewals in the past.
Right. So, I mean, we haven't run into any issues at all with this program with the DPW. I think it's been working pretty well, as you said, Don. So the request is for another 3-year renewal?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. I think it's been working fine. After this 3-year period, we might just want to take another look at the RDA, just to see if it needs to be refreshed, since it's been a little while since it was originally submitted to us. But I think for this request for renewal, I think we're good in my mind.
Right. Because what we try and do is we monitor over the 3-year period. If a job has come in that doesn't fit, the determination, then
Yep.
we would make note, and then we would be seeking them to file a new RDA application to address anything that's come up. But, thank goodness it's all just maintenance activity of existing infrastructure, and we haven't run into a problem where that it hasn't been addressed. Obviously, they're doing something new, then they file a new, like all those sidewalk jobs,
Yes, yeah. And Mr. Westling's, I think, is pretty good about, determining what falls under this, determination of applicability for the townwide drainage, as opposed to what needs to be filed under a new application,
Exactly.
under the normal process. So I'm comfortable with it. Any questions or comments from the commission members?
I have one, just food for thought. It's not really a, I don't know, question, answer, concern, whatever, but something that I've been seeing in other towns that I'm working with, and on the MS4 permit, one of the requirements is to clean out your drainage system on a regular basis. You got to look at BMPs that the town owns, so old detention ponds and things like this that might not have been cleaned out for years and years or ever.
Right.
And now
Yes.
they need to clean them. And one of the things that we've been coming across is that you'll do maintenance on a pipe that's completely clogged and has basically created a wetland area or artificially raised the elevation of a detention pond. And these are things that aren't, prior to 1996. So they're not grandfathered in, they're not under the acts, a wet, whatever, I forget what the clause is in there. Matt, we've come across it on mobile and whatnot. 96 is that magic date. So, there's not any particular instances now in Hopkinton, but I could see that I'm seeing it happen in other towns, and nobody really knows
The
what the
appropriate way
right
to manage
thing
it.
is.
Right.
Right. I mean, you need to manage the stormwater for sure and get the capacity back, but then you kind of run into this intersection between Concom and maintenance by DPW, and then you have potential abutters and things that see these things going on, and it raises a lot of flags, and it just might be something that's going to come down the pipe potentially.
Yeah, that's good information, Melissa. So,
Case in
Uh,
point, we're gonna see that on the NOI for the 25 parcels on Fitch, Myrtle, and the third one there. Is,
Yeah.
yeah. So the existing basins are just like you said, forested. So we have to work with DPW to address it. At least
So
those.
that might be something that we want to say might or might not fall under the RDA.
Right. This would be a good case in point, when we get to the that hearing.
Is
to
that the
see-
one off of Blueberry? That
Correct.
Blueberry?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna come up there for sure.
Yeah.
But you would have an O&M plan. I would assume that would continue on. Well, I'd have to look at the old order, but like the new orders we issue, has an O&M plan, and in essence, the order, that condition continues. So it's not like the order really dies.
So the
No, I
O and M plan for the maintenance of the detention basins and things like that, Don, you're referring to?
That's not like in our newer ones, like
Yeah.
the standard subdivisions that we do now have that on as an ongoing condition. But yeah, we'd have to look at, is there a tweener, did Blueberry not have an O&M plan that was approved, and now the order has died, and now all you've got is this RDA, and like Melissa said, is the RDA enough scope and enough conditions to handle it?
Yeah. So Melissa, what would you think about this? How about we renew this permit with the town for 2 years rather than 3? That'll give us a little bit of time to kind of think this through in terms of, best management practices, and, hopefully within the next couple years, we'll have some examples that you've run into or that Kerry's run into in other towns that can give us a little bit better of an idea of, whether this covers the scope of what we're looking for or if we need to expand it.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe just a friendly email to Mr. Westerling that, we kind of have this on our radar and we realize that these might come up, and, we don't know
Testing 1, 2, 3.
how he interprets it versus us, and
Okay.
just a courtesy email if he's gonna clean something like this in the next 2 years while this is,
Yeah, that's
until we
that's
figure that
good,
out.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So Don, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll get that out to Mr. Westerling.
Okay, and then we'll, so this will be a 2-year extension.
Okay.
Rather than the 3.
Yeah, it'd be nice if the other 2 get to, because we've got them synchronized, so they all go at the same time, so they don't forget to ask for the renewals. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to go with 2 for the others as well, just to keep them
Okay.
on track.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, any other questions or comments from the commission members? And if I can just we'll vote on this, if I get a motion to approve the extension for the DPW townwide drainage determination of applicability.
So moved.
So that's Ted, and a second, please.
Second, Ted,
Ed is a second, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff Barnes is an aye. Okay. All right, Don, let's move out to the actual agenda now.
Certainly.
So this is Rosillo 2 Deer Run. This is a notice of intent for the installation of a swimming pool. I need to read this to open the public hearing. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 at 6:30 PM, virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Vicky Rosillo to construct a pool with associated site work, location 2 Deer Run, assessors map U25, block 27, lot 0. Do we have Mrs. Rosillo on the call here, or a consultant for Mrs.
I think someone
Rosillo?
from Goddard Consultant might be.
Yeah, I
available.
believe so. I'm Kyle from Goddard Consulting. We're the ones who filed the NOI on behalf of Vicky Rosillo, who I believe is also on the call.
Okay, Kyle, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good,
I'm
thank you.
here, I think.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Rosillo. Good evening.
Hi.
So Kyle, you want to just kind of give us an overview of what you would like to do here, please?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's a pretty simple project here. Over on the right of the screen, you have it's actually I believe it's the headwaters of the Charles River. So then we got a little bit of BVW next to it, and then our various offsets. You got the next one to be your 100-foot riverfront. Then we'll hit our 100-foot BVW setback, and then beyond that, we have the 200-foot riverfront. So the work's only within that outer riparian zone. And we're in all that area where we got the proposed pool exists as lawn currently today. So we're, outside of your 100-foot setback that I believe there's a no disturb zone to the river. So we're well outside that 100-foot setback. We're in existing lawn.
Right, it's previously
It's coming
disturbed.
for me.
So one of the comments that the commission's consultant has was, I guess there were a couple trees that were proposed for removal in the backyard. It looks like one of the trees appears to lean over kind of the pool area, the other one doesn't. So can you just, Matt, if you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so it just as was described, pretty much all the work is within existing lawn. So really the only potential impact at all would be the removal of the trees. One of the trees appears to be in the footprint of the pool, so obviously that one doesn't appear to be able to stay. The other one's right along the fence line. My looking at it, I didn't see it looked all that much different from kind of, as a whole, it's all forested behind. There's actually a cemetery between the subject property and the wetland. It's forested. I'm not sure that removal of that tree is going to make a huge difference with sort of the amount of leaves and things that fall into the tree. But again, it's one tree in the Outer Pond Riverfront area. It was just sort of an observation that the commission could have for discussion.
Yeah, so Mrs. Rosillo, what's your, it's nice to see that you have your mask on. It's good news. So the one tree, I mean, are you pretty certain you want to remove that, or is that something that can stay in place? What's your thoughts there?
I would like to remove the trees.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Just those two, those particular ones.
Just those two. All right. All right, so I think we're good. I get it. I think, as Mr. McDonald says, pretty straightforward. Let me just open it up to questions, comments from the other commission members.
A comment about the trees. Is there anything wrong with the trees? Are they compromised or diseased?
They look pretty, well, the one particular by the fence, that one looks pretty gross looking, actually.
Yeah, it's inside the fence. I mean, it looks, it's, doesn't look like it's diseased or anything, but I get it. It's inside the fence location. I guess I'm fine with it. Any other comments? Is there any landscaping like bushes or anything, shrubs going around the pool area, Mrs. Rosillo, or?
I was gonna put a whole bunch of flowers and shrubs and something pretty around the pool area.
Okay,
I just don't know what yet. I figured they'd tell me what would be a good idea.
okay. All right, questions or comments from other commission members? Going once, going twice, comments from the audience? All right, if I can get a motion to issue the notice of intent with our standard conditions.
This is Jim. I'll make that motion.
Jim, in a second.
Second,
That was Melissa. Janine, was that you?
Janine can have it.
Janine, okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. All right. You're good to go, Mrs. Rosillo.
Thank you.
You gonna be able to swim in it this summer or no?
I hope so.
All right. Well, good luck with it. Let us know when the pool party is.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. All right. Moving along. So we have 5 Whisper Way. This is a notice of intent for a single family home. And we have 3 Whisper Way, which is a notice of intent for a single family home. So I'll just open both of these at the same time. That way there we can discuss them since it's the same applicant and the same consultant. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 at 6:30 PM, virtually online, to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Ravenwood LLC to construct a single-family house with associated site work. The location is 3 Whisper Way, Lot 4. This is a portion of Assessors Map R16, Blocks 26 and 55, Lot 0, and Map U14, Block 28, Lot A. And we have 5 Whisper Way, Lot 3, which is a portion of the same assessors maps. Okay. All right. Do we have someone from Goddard Consulting representing the applicant, or?
No, Three Oaks
No.
Environmental,
Oh, 3 Oaks Environmental. Okay, who are we speaking with?
Mary Ann DePinto.
I'm Mrs. DePinto. How are you?
They are doing well. I think Craig Nation is on the call as well.
Yep, I saw him join. Okay. How you doing, Mr. Nation?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Cool.
This is a new experience.
We're all getting used to it.
Yeah, essentially I filed the notice of intent for lots 3 and 4, both under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the local bylaw. Some of the work is in the buffer zone. On one of the lots, there's an existing house that's going to be removed. And ultimately, the work will be moved further away than the current house exists. The driveway that's currently a dirt driveway is going to be moved outside of the 100-foot buffer zone and paved. The current driveway is eroding periodically into the wetland. And in the past, snow had the wetland, which included rocks and dirt and so on. So by moving this back and by moving the driveway out of the buffer zone, it's an improvement over existing conditions for that lot.
Okay.
Some grading will occur for the septic system. I spoke with the designer today, and she explained to me about the trying to fit that system on there with or without a well. And if this is public water, moving the system would require raising it, different grading, and ultimately as much impact into the buffer zone because of grading based on her calculations and design for the system. So pretty much the impacts on this lot are what you see. You know, any kind of change to it isn't going to result in any kind of change to the wetland buffer zone impact. Now, there's some restoration that will be occurring as well, where there's existing disturbed soils and where the existing property has gone into that buffer zone. That will all be loamed and seeded with a conservation mix and allowed to restore to native vegetation.
Okay.
That's one of them.
That's one of them. So, all right, let me comment on that one. That's so that's the first one.
That's one with the house on it.
Yeah, that's 5 Whisper Way.
Okay.
And I don't know whose background is.
Not
I feel like
me.
I'm at the Haunted Mansion in Disney World with the doors closed.
Could be mine. I have a lot of kids in the background here.
Oh, okay, all right.
I
Okay,
can't
no
help it.
worries.
I can't move. You can mute me.
Okay.
All right. So did you receive Lucas's comments, Mrs. DePinto?
Yes, I did,
Right, so-
and I was able today to respond to them.
Right. So a couple, just if I can just make a couple
Yes.
comments,
Yes.
since I don't think you've done work with our commission previously. So a couple high-level comments on
Leon's.
subdivision projects like this. You know, we require a cumulative analysis of the alteration, you know, for the entire subdivision. We don't look at it on a house by house basis. So that's one thing, one of the higher level comments. The second higher level comment would be with regard to buffer zone, you know, and resource area disturbance. If there's no feasible alternatives, we require an alternatives analysis. So those.
That was all done with the other filing. The alternatives were already taken care of. There was a 24 lot subdivision proposed. It was brought down to 12 lots in response to that alternatives analysis. So these are the lots that the commission, by virtue of the roadway approval and infrastructure, approved, essentially. So these are the lots, and the houses on the lots are as far from the buffer zone as possible, or outside of it, or as far away within it as possible, based on where the septic systems need to be on perk testing and so on. But I believe that alternatives analysis took place already. This has been going on, from my understanding, for a couple of years now.
Through the
Year and a half,
through the
I would
chair.
say. But yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, the order of conditions, yeah, it was for the roadway, and there were alternatives analysis regarding the roadway. But we can give you examples of alternative analysis now, looking at all the lots, because now the NOIs for the lots are starting to come in, and instead of looking at them individually, we just need a report showing the cumulative buffer zone disturbance for all the lots that are going to be coming before the commission. We can give you some examples of in
Yeah.
the past to reflect that. And I don't think that's in the original order for the roadway.
It wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so we, just have a little bit more homework to do. And, there were some other comments, that applies to both of them and the other lots as well that are gonna be proposed. And I think the other I don't want to spend too much time on this tonight because, this certainly needs to be some more work done. But, there were some other comments I think are fairly self-explanatory, that Lucas provided. And, Matt, if you want to just kind of give us a quick summation, we don't need to go through it, tick by tick, but
Well, most everything was agreed to, I think. It's just a couple of comments, really.
okay.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot there. I think just a little bit more detail, sir. As you mentioned, I won't go through, but the cumulative analysis, a little bit more discussion alternatives as far as, you talked a little bit about changing the grade. If you move the septic system, that it might have more grading. Well, there's an alternative. You potentially put a wall in or something to minimize grading. I think more of a discussion on that. And then there really wasn't much of a discussion at all as far as, if there are areas that are going to be restored and left to sort of return to natural conditions, exactly how that's going to happen. There really wasn't much detail with regard to that in the application at all. So that's,
Okay.
that's the type of thing I think we're looking for.
All right.
Okay, let me open it up to comments from the commission members.
Through the chair.
Yep, Mrs. Reed.
I'm looking for existing conditions, trying to figure out where the current like water and sewer are, and then the proposed. It's kind of hard to see on the screen. Can you point that out just to help me out? Oh, is Craig trying to talk, but he's muted?
I need,
Are you look at the plan for lot 4? Maybe Don puts it up.
yeah, it takes him a little bit of time to kind of scroll through it, Craig, on his
So
end.
I've got,
That's lot 4 there.
right.
Can you zoom in on it, Don? So the septic and the well, Carrie, is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what's there now for the existing house versus what will be there for the.
Come on.
And
I
I'm
don't-
just
I don't
didn't
think
see
it
See
shows.
my
existing conditions.
cursor? It's very faint, but I'm able to
yeah.
get the box of the house right here.
Yep. And the septic system's underneath the proposed house. The current system. You can see it,
Okay.
it's very faint also.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And all that whole area is currently disturbed. Driveway is right along the 50-foot, actually it's inside the 50-foot buffer zone. Our silt fence is currently in the place that it shows on the plan.
And you expect that you'll have two septics, one for each house, and public water or private water?
It will be public water.
Okay, I saw those.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
it.
got it.
Well,
Thank you.
The septic designer put wells, showed wells on, actually, I guess there's not one on this, but I'm not sure why she showed one on lot 3. I guess it was just a worst case scenario. I'm not sure why she has that there.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
So just a thought on that lot, I think maybe providing, some square footage of what the existing the existing house footprint, driveway footprint, septic footprint that was within the 50 and 100 foot buffer zones. And then comparatively to what you're proposing, I think would be helpful for the commission, just to actually see those numbers as well as see it on the plan. If the
Okay.
commission agrees.
Yep, I think that makes sense. All right. Um,
I guess we just had trouble coming up with an alternatives analysis. Yeah, Don, if you could supply some examples of what you're
Yeah.
looking for there for lot 3 anyways. I think lot 4's, I mean, it's going to be a vast improvement over what we currently have. Lot 3, on the other hand, I don't know. I guess our understanding was we came from 24 lots to 12, and that was our alternative. So I guess I'm not quite sure what exactly you're asking in the memo in number 3. I don't know how to answer that.
I could provide you examples that were provided on the Penny Meadow and the Hunter's Ridge.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna say Hunter's Ridge, we did it.
Right.
And yeah, that's right. Penny Meadow, we did as well, Don.
Yeah, it was small. Penny Meadow was 4 and Hunter's Ridge, I forget how many, but I would think
Right.
Hunter's Ridge is probably comparable to this.
Yeah, it was like
So I can
18 or
send you-
20, I think, on
I
that
can
one.
send you that, so you can understand. So the commission can look at it as the big picture instead of one at a time, so it's sort of just combining it
think-
into,
I think these are our only 2 Concom lots.
Yeah.
oh, out of the 12, these are the only 2 the commission will see?
Besides what we've already done with the driveway crossing at lot 12, which was part of the road acceptance. So,
Oh, okay.
so this is it. So yeah, I mean, I guess we
So
should.
those numbers are there.
Well, so if it's these 2, then,
But it would, yeah, but you'd still need to have like an overall, if you look at the example, it's, like Hunter's Ridge, it was, I think you had like 8 or 9 lots out of the total number. This would be obviously a smaller and a quicker one than the Hunter's example, but the commission still needs to see it on one. Right now, you got one plan for this lot, one plan for that lot. They'd want to see one plan with all the lots, and it would just show, these are the only 2 you're going to see, and then that would be cumulative.
yeah, so if all the other lots are outside our jurisdiction, Craig, it's just these 2, then it should be pretty straightforward.
So
Yeah.
if we had a total of all of the buffer zone on the property, and out of that 4,000 square feet out of 100,000 square feet is being altered, whatever, I'm making
Yeah,
numbers up.
exactly. Yeah. Those are the kind of numbers the commission wants to see,
Okay.
It's like, oh, okay, it's a small
Yeah.
percentage as opposed to a large percentage,
Yeah. All right.
And basically the file needs to speak for itself. So 10 years down the road, when we're not around, everyone will understand why the commission made the decision they did.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments from commission members?
Through the chair,
Question. Yep, Ted, go ahead.
I'll just say quickly, looking at both of the lots, there is some grading. It looks like there's some steep fall off into the wetlands that catches my eye, and I wonder if there's a way to tame that a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay,
Maybe we can take a look at. I'm not seeing it on so much on lot 3. Maybe a little bit on lot 4. Maybe somewhat of a wall at the base of our proposed ECB may act as a PIB and mitigate that grading to some extent. Just looking at it quickly.
yeah, if you can take a look at it, Craig. See if there's
Okay.
anything to do.
Right.
Okay, questions or comments from the public audience? As the hand raised, if you have a question, you can, or a comment, you can unmute yourself and speak now. I'm not seeing anyone with a hand raised. Just give it a minute or 2. Okay, All right, so we'll continue this out. Craig, our next meeting is August 11th. Will that give you enough time?
We have to check in with Liz. She's gonna do the calculations.
So we have August 11th or August 25th. You can continue it out to. So,
I personally have another hearing on the 11th. I don't know what time it is, but at this point.
all right, so the 25th sounds like a better date for you then.
Yeah.
Craig, you okay with that?
Craig?
All right, if you guys can just send Don a request for an extension out to the 25th by email, that would be great. Okay,
Okay, yep.
thank you.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's move along to 3 Whisper Way. I think, it's the same, high level comments with this one, Mr. Pinto. And I'll just wait for Don to bring the plan up.
So this is the second one,
Oh, this is the second one right here with the grading.
right?
Okay. All right. So I think we covered both of them then.
Yeah, I had both plans up
Okay.
because you opened them both up, so I was bringing
Right.
everything in.
Okay. Sorry. I apologize. All right. So if you can send us a request to extend this lot out to the 25th as well, Mr. Pinto. And no questions or comments from the audience on either lot. Just want to make sure. I don't see anyone's hand raised. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, folks. We'll see you on the 25th. All right, Mass DOT I-90 and I-495 interchange. This is a continuation of a notice of intent to reconfigure the roadways. Do we have anyone from the Mass DOT? All right, so Don, I think, we heard the kind of project overview at the last meeting. And we've been informed by Mass DOT. We put a request into them to have both Lucas Environmental do a review of the project and Beta to do a review of the stormwater impacts related to the project, and for Mass DOT to cover those project expenses. They declined on both. So I think, that is grounds, because they're not willing to have our consultants do the review. It's grounds for the commission to deny the project. And again, that's, as the project manager had indicated in the project overview, that's what the expectation is from Mass DOT. So I don't think we really need to, if anyone has a quick comment or a question, I don't think we need to.
Through the chair?
Yep.
Jeff, I think although certainly that the sort of lack of information is perfectly valid for denial, I think one of the things that's probably worth mentioning is the fact that, that the reason why they were required to get the variance is because they have over 5,000 square feet of bordering vegetated wetland impacts that does not qualify as a limited project. So it's really, I think on that basis, as much as anything, would be your basis for denial.
Yeah, that's a good point, Matt.
I think that's probably worth putting in whatever the decision is so something with regard to that language.
Absolutely. Yep, that makes sense. Ed, did you have a comment?
I took my cryptic notes when we had them on a little bit, and I'm looking at my cryptic notes, trying to remember what it was I wanted to say. So at this point in time, I'm going to say I don't have a comment.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions from the commission?
Through the chair?
Yes, Don.
Yeah, I believe there's folks from Mass DOT available. And I just had one question about the wetland mitigation, and I don't know if anyone can address that. Just wondering in regards to modifying the stream channels, if they're going to use any natural channel design concepts in the wetland mitigation. Just wondering if they could address
this-
that.
Mark Forbert at Tetra Tech. We're going to, Beth Parent is also on the call. She can talk about that. We're proposing to use natural substrate. One of our requirements from working with the DEP in headquarters is we have to match. They want sinuosity, and they want us to match pebble counts. They want us to match substrate, and so we're doing all of those things and creating natural channels, particularly in for the Whitehall Brook. Right now, there's a big dip in the channel as it goes underneath the pike, which it's not good for wildlife passage. That's something we're looking to fix as we go along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Forward. Does that answer your question, Don?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Ed. So one of my questions, currently, there are canoeable culverts, for lack of a better word, under both 495 and the Turnpike. Are they going to remain as being passable via canoe?
Yes, we don't propose to touch either of the main culverts. The two Sudbury culverts, the twin one and the large one, aren't affected by the project at all, which we're actually happy about because they're well established and they're working well. So we don't have to touch them, so we're not going to.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, questions or comments from audience members? All right, if I can get a motion to deny the notice of intent application for the Mass DOT project.
I'll make that motion, this is Jim.
Okay, that's Jim, made the motion. In a second, please.
I'll second, Melissa.
Melissa seconding, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie, that's an aye. Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted, Ted. Is Ted still with us? Hold on.
Sorry about that. Aye.
Okay, that's an aye, and Jeff's an aye. So the project is denied and the hearing is closed. Okay, thank you, Mr. Parent.
Thank you.
Okay. So 70 Spring Street, this is a continuation of a notice of intent for the Harding family. Mr.
Good evening,
Bemis,
Peter.
how are you tonight?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good, good. Okay, so you want to just give us a quick update on where we're at?
Yes, I do. So we've submitted a revised plan. We received comments from Lucas Environmental last evening, and today we were able to respond to those. We also got comments back from the Hopkinton Fire Department relative to our driveway yesterday. So I spoke with the fire chief. He provided me with a detail, which we provided a separate sketch for. So Matt, opening that one may be the easier as the initial presentation document because it just shows the driveway and the house without a lot of other background. So I'm not sure if you could bring that one up.
What was the determination by the fire department?
That we're good to go with the driveway with some modifications which we've made. And the site plan will also identify a number of features that we've included just as additional safeguards to ensure that the safety features of this lot are addressed. particularly the signage for the lot, because we'll be entering a driveway for 70. It will be in advance of 68, which is the existing house. So the idea was that we would have proper signage there to identify that this is the location for 70 Spring Street. Or what we might do is actually just revisit the building numbers and possibly use them both as 68 with an A and B, or 68-1 and 68-2, or something to that effect.
Okay, Don, the plan's not on the screen right now, Don. It's just your menu with the different files in the folder. There we go.
How about now?
Yep.
Yeah,
We're
that's
able
the
to
site plan.
toggle between the two?
That's the one that I'd like to start with. Thank you very much, Don. So the fire apparatus is likely to be coming from 135. The satellite fire department location is located in Woodville, and then I spoke with the chief at length about the fact that I guess that's going to be decommissioned at some point, and they would be servicing this from likely servicing this from the central station. So the fire apparatus can head down Spring Street, enter onto the property, then it gets to the termination of the driveway, and then what we've done is put a turnout there. So they'll be able to enter to the right, back up to the left, and then exit again in the same pathway. And this is using a software, it's called Auto Turn, and the fire apparatus is the Hopkinton Fire Department ladder truck that they would use. So this more than meets the minimum standard. The colors here are showing the wheelbase as well as the overhang swing for the vehicle.
Got it. Okay.
So that part complies. If Don, if you don't mind jumping back to the other sketch, and I'll just start from kind of right to left. So there are a number of notes that are down in the lower right. The first one is pertaining to that building designation for signage, and that the driveway does meet the Hopkinton Fire Department site access requirements from 5/1/17. Then coming up the driveway on the left is a rain garden that we're proposing. There's a filter strip that goes in along the entire left side of the driveway. One of Lucas Environmental's comments was that they were concerned that that filter strip would somehow discharge into the intermittent stream that passes through about 2/3 of the way up the driveway. It does not. The way the grading is set up, the entire drive would come back down to that rain garden, so it would be treated. We've got fairly good soils here. We have fairly good impermeable soils, as you might expect along the lake. So we'll be getting some recharge coming down the driveway, as well as the treatment at the rain garden.
Okay. And I think the big comment that jumped out at me that Lucas had was whether the culvert, is meeting the stream crossing standards.
Sure. So let's focus on that now. So we took out the two separate culverts and we put in a box. So it's a 3648 box, which would then afford critters to easily migrate, down the brook. I did look at those standards today. To me, that was the bigger takeaway, was something that would provide a more robust access from one side to the other. Another one of the comments that Lucas had made was relative to the wetland replication area. We've designated it on that bank on the northeast side. It makes the most sense, we think, from the perspective of not minimizing the impact to existing vegetation. So there's a note there pertaining to the large birch tree that Matt noticed at the site. So we would protect that. And then I also put in a note that we're doing 200% of impacted wetland. So we're replicating 300 square feet minimum. I've indicated that we might tweak the shape of it in the field. It's best to just determine it when we're there.
Yep.
There's additional notes that have been added to the replication detail to ensure that hydrology is also provided with this. We know that we're going to have an intermittent stream channel, so that there would be some water transfer. I would think that during drought periods like this, it would be probably a drought through that entire wetland system. But once the stormwater season resumes, then you would get runoff back through there. And we think that we can dig this down deep enough to ensure that we'll have at least a muck layer that would form and be associated with the channel itself. The other alternative site was to go to the south side of the channel. There's another area where you can see the wetland kicks in towards the bank of the intermittent stream, but there are large trees there. I'm not a strong advocate for cutting down a tree to make a wetland replication area. I just don't like the thought of it. So although that's a nice spot to go to, it just makes zero sense from an environmental perspective. Whereas where we're showing it, there's just some saplings in there. So I'm not going to really hurt too much vegetation.
Okay.
And we need to do something. So we believe that this is the right spot for that.
Okay. All right.
And let me think, what else did, so Matt also had a comment regarding the well. So we've added a sump, I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt. Don. There was a comment regarding the well. The yard waste, that can be a condition. There's definitely a lot of knotweed here. Actually, one of the proposals that we had was to remove that and try to put a replication area in there. And Matt kind of convinced me that I might be putting myself into a position that I may regret. So I think I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't mind removing the yard waste, and we'll do our best to help that area restore. But there's just a great deal of knotweed there. And the only way that I found successful to remove that is to put down a pretty heavy-duty mat and then to put some stone over it. We've had good success with that, but I don't think anybody's going to want me to do that down in that area of the site.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to kill that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going with the well again, we put a sump in there. If you go back to the site plan, and the well's in the center portion of the site. There you go. Thank you. So in front of the well, there would be a sump that would be dug out. We've got a compost log going around the entire perimeter of work area with this proposal. And that sump would further ensure that any of the drilling sediment would be captured in that area, and we would not have any transport beyond that zone. Our septic system is approved by the local health authority, so that is good. And I'm trying to think of what other comment Matt had. Again, I increased some of the notes on the details just to try to bring closure to this. This has been open for a bit. The owner is anxious to try to market this property, and I think we've done a good job with a pretty difficult lot to put this together and to minimize our footprint. We were talking about a significant wetland impact when we started, and we've got that down to 150 square feet at this point.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. And let me just defer to Matt. So,
okay. Yeah.
So there was new information provided within the past couple of days in terms of the turnaround for the fire and that type of thing. Matt, are you comfortable with how this is presented, or do you need a little bit more time to review it?
Yeah, I looked very quickly at the plan. I didn't go through it. I just didn't have time to go through it in any great detail. I guess one of my comments was regarding the bylaw requirements for the wetland mitigation. I know there's some details on the plan about the mitigation, and the impact area is very small and the mitigation area is very small. So I'll leave it to the commission to decide on, sort of if they feel this is necessary or not. But the standard procedure the commission has, there's a whole section in the bylaw that talks about wetland mitigation and going through the checklist and making sure that the hydrology is appropriate, that there's a planting plan. And I just don't know that all those details are there currently, whether that's something that could be conditioned and submitted, prior to the start of work, I guess would be a possibility. But that's the only thing, again, just kind of thinking about other projects that have been approved and sort of the level of detail that's been required. Just making sure that everybody's.
Yeah, my sense, and I'll open this up to the other commission members in a minute, is, it's 300 square feet, the replication area. I'm comfortable with conditioning it that, a plan is submitted for you and Don to review, prior to the work being done. And is contingent upon your approval of the plan. Given the fairly small area that we're talking about here, again, the 300 square feet, but let me open it up to the other commission members and see how they feel about it.
This is Melissa. Jeff, I think I would agree with that on the replication area. As long as Matt has a chance to review it after the fact. One other thing, and I don't know if I missed it or not, but one of Matt's comments, and I was thinking the same thing, the operation and maintenance of the rain garden and the filter strip, there was a comment about that, and was that created, or is there something outlining for the homeowner, the operation and maintenance on those BMPs?
I did not add something specific, but I have no problem conditioning that. We have a standard operating procedure for it that we can provide. I mean, it's keeping it clean. I mean, when those go in, they will last the timeline that's necessary if you keep it clean.
So
Right.
that'll be incumbent on the homeowner to keep that clean, obviously.
Yes, that's right. That's what I'm saying. We have a standard procedure for that, and that can be an ongoing condition too after you issue a certificate. So I can provide that.
That'll definitely be an ongoing condition, certainly. And your standard O&M, I'm okay with conditioning that as well, Melissa, so long as Matt gets a chance to review it and can modify it, as he feels, and Don, obviously. So long as they get a chance to review it and comment and, modify it as they feel appropriate on behalf of the commission.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to make sure it got in there so the future homeowner knows what they're getting into and expected, to do. It's not just a garden in the front. It's
Right.
serves a purpose.
Requires some work.
Right.
No, that's a good comment. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
The commission's heard this from me before, but I'm always worried about road crossings over streams when it comes to snow removal. I know this is a driveway, not a road, but I would still love to see that the homeowner would not be allowed to use road salt when they do their driveway. Clean snow off a driveway doesn't worry me so much. Road salt into the intermittent stream worries me.
Yeah, that's a standard condition, Ted. In the resource area, they have to use environmentally friendly techniques, for clearing the snow. They can't use salt.
And the good news with this driveway is it's not steep. This is a fairly level plane as we come through, so we're not creating a great deal of grade change here.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yep.
Firstly, this is a huge, huge, huge improvement over what we saw first. And I want to make that really clear. Secondly, I seem to remember there was some discussion about Japanese knotweed in the first proposal, which seems to be missing now. This place is heavily infested with Japanese knotweed, and I would really like to see a plan to do something about it.
Yeah, I think Mr. Bemis commented on that earlier. I think if I can just kind of recap what he said, according to his discussion with Matt, Japanese knotweed is very difficult to eradicate. I think that's why they call it knotweed. But I think the recommendation was that, it's best to just leave it than to try to remove it. And Matt, is that?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that was, I think my comment to Peter was more where he was proposing wetland mitigation where the knotweed was. the odds are is that if you build wetland mitigation there, it's going to be filled with Japanese knotweed unless you're fortunate enough to get the hydrology to the point where the knotweed can't exist. I think Ed has a perfectly valid point to say, if the applicant's willing to make an attempt to eradicate it where it is, I wouldn't oppose that at all as part of the project. I think, as Peter mentioned, as you mentioned, Jeff, it's a difficult task to take on, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing by any means. My most recent comment was the concern about the dumping of the knotweed debris up near the mitigation area, and somehow that just getting mixed in with soil or something and being spread further on the site. But I think certainly that we certainly don't want to make things any worse, even if things, if the applicant isn't willing to attempt to make things better. I think that probably would be worthy of some sort of special condition to make that clear to the contractor that it's a concern of the commission.
Yeah, so I thank you, Ed, for that comment. I think that makes sense. Special condition that we don't want it spread to other parts of the site, and I think it's a reasonable request to ask the applicant to do some mitigation of the knotweed that's existing there through removal with hand digging, that type of thing, if that makes sense to everyone. And I don't know how we, I guess, Matt, this is a question to you. How do we evaluate, whether what's been done is sufficient, from a commission perspective?
Yeah, that's always the challenge on something like this. As far as, requiring some sort of an effort, it sounds like at this point, it would just be a special condition for the applicant to submit some sort of a plan to address it. Whether that's what Peter had mentioned as far as putting down some sort of a tarp to smother it, or using, injection herbicide is sort of, I think, the current most effective way to try and do it, if the commission would be in favor of that. But again, I think it's hard to put a condition on it to say, well, you have to treat it and monitor it forever, that it never comes back.
Right.
To me, it's, you give it your best effort for maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and hopefully the other native species can get a foothold and shade it out so that it doesn't come back. But it's, we all know it's a challenging thing. So I guess it's a matter of, the applicant being willing to, how much they're willing to invest in it, and how much the commission is going to require the applicant to invest in that, essentially financially.
Yeah, so I would say, I'm in agreement. We put a special condition in, and we have the applicant submit a plan to Matt and Don, pending their, review and approval as to what they think is, kind of a reasonable solution to mitigate what's out there. And, we'll defer to their judgment since they're really the experts. Does that make sense, Mr. Bemis?
Yeah, so I was going to say, I don't mind trying some of these fringe areas to make an impact and to try to change that characteristic. But what I was more concerned about was kind of going down into the wetland system and doing it, because that's where it's going to be more challenging. But there's definitely the opportunity in the upper reaches of the area. And I have tried a very tight woven geotextile in another project, and I'd be game to try that. So I'll put together a plan. I'll submit it to Dawn and Matt, and we're going to have 3 years of construction out here where we'll have to ensure that our wetland replication area comes through. I'd put that on us. I don't mind taking on some responsibility to try to put a little bit better foot forward with this site. So I'm fine with that condition.
Okay. Ed, are you good with that?
Jeff, you know how wrapped up I've been in invasive species lately?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take that as a yes.
Can I just make a quick comment? I'm not familiar with, I guess, is that something that could be added to the the maintenance for the future homeowner? Like if you know this, are there certain measures, not that they need to do something with the knotweed, but are there things that they shouldn't do? Like Matt said, there's stuff that, there's lawn debris that includes the invasive, that's thrown and maybe moved from one area to another, or tossed in the woods, spreading it potentially. Are there any best management maintenance things related to that would want to get into that O&M plan as far as the knotweed goes? I don't know if that's the right place to put it or not, but it could be an education thing for future.
The
Yeah,
most
Melissa,
effective thing we can do is cut it and smother it. I'm sorry, Matt. I just think that cutting it and smothering it has been the most effective way in putting down a blanket that's very robust. They're just to do that in the wetland is very difficult to do because we'd be altering that area. But in the fringe areas, in the upland areas, I think there's an opportunity. So I'll come up with a plan for that, and we would know within the construction window of this project whether that succeeds or not.
To your point, Melissa, though, I think it's valid to say that any material, and this can be part of the plan, Peter, maybe is somehow referenced in the O&M, that any material that's cut as part of the management is treated as waste to be taken off site and landfilled as opposed to, composted or mixed in somewhere out, deposited somewhere else on the site, that it should be bagged and taken off site. That's definitely a standard procedure for those types of materials to get any seed stock or root stock off the site, and so you're not spreading it.
Agreed. Yes, that's an absolute agreed.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
With respect to the Whitehall Conservation Area where there is some knotweed there, we will be getting a plan from Sudbury Valley Trustee SISMA about management, and I can certainly give a copy of that to Don. It'll have a reference to dealing with knotweed that might be useful.
Okay, that'd be good if you could forward that along, and Matt and Peter can take a look at it to see if there's any new practices that they're not aware of that they may want to consider. Okay.
Through the chair.
Yep, Don, go ahead.
Just a quick question for Mr. Bemis. Through the revisions of the plan, I just didn't know if I couldn't find the supplement form in the NOI, but would you be able to give us a revised form that would coincide with because you probably had this plan from the first plan and you've gone through a few revisions. Can you provide us the current numbers to go with the current plan?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Don. All right, let me open it up to questions or comments from the audience at this point. And feel free to take yourself off mute and speak up, and I'll go through and see if I see anyone raising their hand.
Through the chair?
Yep, Matt, go ahead.
I guess this is a question for Peter. Did you check on if there was any change to the abutter list based on the change in the project footprint?
That's right.
It overlapped the existing line that we got. We were good with that. No impact. Thank you.
Good catch, Matt. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like we have any comments or questions from the audience. So if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent with the special conditions as discussed for 70 Spring Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
That's Ted made the motion. A second, please.
Janine, I'll second.
Janine is a second. We'll go through the roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Melissa's an aye. Carrie?
Aye.
Carrie's an aye. Jim?
Aye.
Jim's an aye. Ed? Ed?
Aye.
Ed's an aye. Janine?
Aye.
Janine's an aye. Ted?
Aye.
Ted's an aye, and Jeff's an aye. So, all right, Mr. Bemis, very good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
We appreciate you working with us on the different requests we have for the project. I think it's going to be a good project going forward. So we appreciate your cooperation. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you.
Okay. So moving along, the Wolf continued to August 11th. So we have Mr. Petrosi. Mr. Petrosi, Mr. McManus, you guys with us?
Hi, Paul McManus here.
I'm here.
Mr. McManus, Mr. Petrosi,
Yes, sir.
good evening.
How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, so I guess, is there any new information, Mr. Petrosi, at this point that you would like to enter into the record?
Not that I know of. We, at the last meeting, had received several comments from the, I believe, some of the neighbors and the Department of Public Works. And as far as I know, that's the information that's in the record.
Yep, okay, very good. Okay, so so there's some administrative things we need to take care of with this. We have a couple of the filings that need to be retracted. So I think we are looking at application 39, which is the Leonard Street right-of-way request for reconsideration, a continuation for removal of the drain pipe, the widen the gravel road and install the berm.
Yeah, that can be withdrawn.
Okay. So, so that
Through the
one,
chair,
yep, Don, go ahead.
if you could just follow that up, I mean, it gave the verbal, if you could just follow up with
With
an
an
email
email.
to that effect.
I'll send an email to recap what we've determined, the applications that are being withdrawn or terminated.
Yep, so the other one, Mr. Petrosi, is 38, which is the lot 4A, notice of intent.
Right, and then we would also consider HCC 33, assuming that the 3-lot proposal on Leonard Street is approved. That would become a moot application.
Through the chair.
Yep, Don, go ahead.
I
No,
think I think for the roadway under the WPA, it's covered by RDA 2023. And then the improvements to Leonard Street itself are either 33 or 39. So you'd probably just want to withdraw one of them because you'd still want to.
Yeah, because that's under the bylaw, Mr.
too.
Petrosi.
Roadway improvements under the bylaw and the act, and then 3 NOIs for each house, right?
Right, one NOI for each of the lots, yes.
Right, so you'd probably, if you got rid of 39, you could do the roadway improvements to Leonard Street under 33 with the new plan,
Okay,
based on this plan.
yeah,
So that would be under the bylaw. And then
okay,
roadway improvements under the act would be covered by RDA 23. And then we'd be left with the 3 single-family house lots. That should cover your whole project.
okay, that would be
Yeah, so I
fine.
think, so 39 and 38 would be the 2
Right,
that would be
Right.
withdrawn. So if
Yep.
you can just formally document that in an email, Mr. Petrosi.
yes, I will do that.
Okay. All right, so let me just open it up to questions or comments from the commission as we wrap this up.
Through the chair,
Go ahead, Ted.
I just want to say before my votes, I understand my charge to be to protect wetlands in town. And I know I've read the letters from the neighbors and I've read the letters from DPW. I'm looking at protecting the wetlands, and it seems to me that this project doesn't do that at all. The lots don't do it, and essentially turning a wetlands into a retention basin that the applicant admits will change the flora of the wetlands makes it so I can't see how I'm doing my job if I vote other than the way I'm going to.
Mr. Chairman, if I could comment on that quickly?
Yes, Mr. McManus, go ahead.
As you correctly pointed out, that I did acknowledge that there would be a change, anticipated change to the vegetation. But I think it's important to remember that, in my opinion, and I'd be interested in Matt's, in my opinion, that does not represent a negative change, and that a change certainly requires a permit. Um, but I don't believe that every change is a negative change, and in this case, I don't believe that what would result from this project would be a negative change.
So you're submitting that the proposed changes are an improvement to the wetland system that's out there?
Um, with respect to the vegetation,
An enhancement.
It's going to be different. It's going to pond a little bit more, promote some infiltration a little bit more. I would say that it would be, it's not I'm not claiming it's a dramatic improvement or anything like that. But I also don't, I think it's just different. It's closer to neutral than it is, negative or significantly positive.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Matt, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess my only comment on that would be, I think in general, I agree that at best it's neutral. But I would say that if this were a filing under the Wetlands Protection Act, I don't think this would be allowed, period.
Right, but
it's not. So it's under the bylaw. You have certainly the right to approve it, but I think there's some value in thinking of it from that perspective that under the act, it would not be an allowed alteration.
Right, so just clarification for the commission members, the two wetland systems that we're looking at are isolated vegetated wetlands that are on the property. So those are not contemplated under the Wetland Protection Act, but they are contemplated under our bylaw. The wetland system to the on the abutting property, which is to the north, or can you just scroll out, Don, so I can see the scale in the
South.
on the south side, I'm sorry, is a wetland BVW that's contemplated under both the bylaw and the act. So just for clarification. Okay, thank you, Ted. Other questions or comments from commission members?
This is, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Melissa. I just wanted to acknowledge that even though I missed the last meeting, when there was a bunch of information provided, including that wetland, the letter that was put together by Mr. McManus on the, the change in the wetland, I did go back and view those meetings and, had a chance to review them and digest all that information and bring myself up to speed as far as what was discussed among the board. So I guess I just wanted to make that statement. And then I also, these being isolated wetlands, I think in a lot of cases, the amount of building and disturbance in the buffer is things that we don't necessarily typically, it is at our discretion, but we like to see more, but more distance. However, given this particular circumstance with these wetlands, most likely being created from drainage and development in the area, I think that the stormwater improvements, the BMPs that they're putting in place at the, along the roadway, the existing gravel roadway, will benefit the wetland Um, I think they are making some improvements there to the runoff from the drainage that currently goes to the wetland. That isn't necessarily, caused by their development, but I think that is kind of a mitigation measure that's improving the circumstances for that isolated wetland.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Jim, did you have a comment?
I did. I want to say that I do think this is an improvement. It's been an uncontrolled discharge for so long. And I think that it is an improvement to the stormwater. Mr. Petrosi has done everything we've asked. The engineering is sound, and it benefits, not only the wetland, making it maybe better, but it also benefits the neighbors that are having issues because of the uncontrolled water. So anyway, I support it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any other comments from commission members?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ed Harrow.
Yes, Ed.
And big improvement over what we saw way back when. If I had real assurance from the DPW or from Beta that this will improve the water situation on Maple Street Extension, I could quite comfortably support this, but I would love to have a higher degree of confidence than I've got right now that this is going to mitigate those issues.
But Ed, this is Jim. Didn't we see that from John Westerling?
The only thing I've seen so far from John has been with respect to water that's coming from upstream. I am again having computer problems, so it's entirely possible that something has come through that I haven't seen, but I went looking today as best as I could on my phone. And all I got was with respect to the water coming into the two pools, not so much what happens on Maple Street Extension.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, that's right. The letter from John was several weeks ago. But I think that if you look at it, it is an advantage to Maple Street Extension.
Yeah, so I think so. Two comments along those lines, Ed. So Beta did do a stormwater review. I think the conclusion that they made was that the proposed, engineering and design is an overall improvement to stormwater runoff in the, at the site and in the area, the lots abutting the property. The letter that we received from Mr. Westerling wasn't a detailed engineering analysis. It was a letter of support stating that, he's reviewed the project and the DPW is in support of the proposed development. So I think that's, again, I don't think, I don't think the DPW did any type of analysis of the impact. They were also relying on Beta's review of the project and their understanding of the project and the conditions of the project.
Jeff, he did at the very end of the letter, he did request a condition or suggest a condition with the order of conditions that input from town council be sought regarding the wording of
The draft.
I think he wants to make sure that the easements are in place.
Yeah.
Is what he's getting at, is making sure that town council has a chance to review the drainage easements on the plan.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Melissa. So I presume that the applicant is okay with that,
Yes, we've provided a draft drainage easement to town council and DPW. And review is pending the disposition of the Concom's decision.
Okay. So we would just, once we draft the order of conditions, assuming the project's approved, we would just request that town council takes a look at that to make sure that they're okay with it.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Through
Do we
the
have any
chair,
Yes, Don, go ahead.
just, have we got finalization? What reminded me was the last hearing, Mr. Harding, and the plan for the driveway that was reviewed and approved by the fire department. Has the fire department given the final consensus on the 3 driveways that they're amenable with them?
Say that again, Don?
Regards to has the fire department given blessing on the 3 driveways? I know you had discussions with them.
Yeah, I think they're mostly concerned about turnarounds inside the lot. And also, we're discussing the installation of a hydrant in the rear of the property where we're bringing in the water main. So that, because there's no existing hydrant on Leonard Street, and there's no existing hydrant on Box Mill. So there was actually no fire protection there. And the water main that's installed on Leonard Street is just a 2-inch main. It's not really adequate for fire protection. So we're working together on some things. Of course, I haven't had a chance to have any final discussions, but those are the things that we're talking about for fire protection and turning radiuses.
But in term, Mr. Petrosi, in terms of the width of the driveways and the turnaround at the end of the driveway, they've reviewed that and they've approved it for the
Well,
3 lots.
I think that he's reviewed it, but I think I haven't received anything back saying yes or no. But they've all been designed with as you saw on the previous applicant, there's a template that allows for a truck to turn in and out, and these meet that requirement.
Are you able to submit that information for the record?
I think so. I'm happy to do so. My engineer's on vacation, unfortunately, this week, but if it were a condition of the order, I'd be happy to submit that as a condition of any order that we provide that information.
Yeah, I think we would want to condition this that our approval is subject to fire department approval of the driveway width and turnaround.
Sure, I have no problems with that.
Okay. Don, Matt, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll put that as a potential condition.
Yeah, so that would be a special condition. So if they don't approve of it, then
we come back to you.
Yeah. then
For
you
a
have to-
project change, yeah, you'd have to do it as a project change.
Okay. Melissa, Carrie, does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're approving what's shown on the plan, and if they had to make modifications due to fire department comments, then they would have to come back anyway. Or we could say that if the layout changes because of the fire department, then they need to come back.
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily depends on fire department approval. I think it's more if they need to make changes.
Right.
And through the chair,
Yes, Matt.
I know at the last meeting, I don't recall if this was fully answered or not, but there was a question about, did the 2 driveways need to be to that width side by side, or could they be basically formed into a common drive that was a bit narrower and sort of split down the middle on the property line? I don't recall if that was fully vetted out or not, or if you're
Yeah,
still interested in that
My
discussion.
recollection there was Mr. Petrosi had agreed, and this was, this would be a condition that Mr. Petrosi had agreed to look into it with the town, and if he was able to use a common driveway as opposed to a double barrel driveway, that he would be amenable to that. Is that?
Yeah, I think what it's really going to come down to is, the fire department We show the turning radiuses of the vehicles that might need to enter into those two lots particularly. Certainly, we could merge the two at the beginning of Leonard Street, and then as we get past the wetlands, maybe have them separate a little bit. But I'm kind of reserving that until we actually have the fire department give us their blessings.
Right.
But they do require a 20-foot. The minimum access requirement is 20 feet. And these, I think, are 22 feet wide, total combined 22 feet of pavement with a little bit of maybe a 2-foot strip in the middle, sort of like an island. We may be able to just get rid of that island and it will look like a common driveway, but the lot line would go right down the middle of the driveway. So we could possibly reduce it a couple of feet to, to the 20-foot dimension if that were the commission's determination.
Through the chair?
Yes, Don.
Yeah, I mean, basically the common driveway would be 16 feet of pavement and then you'd have, shoulders on each side. So instead of 22 feet of width pavement, that was the as we looked at the other previous common driveway the commission approved, basically 16 feet wide of pavement. And then obviously you'd have a turning area like up in here that they could utilize, but they'd still be able to access. And then 2 on each side that isn't paved, but a clear shoulder of the road.
Yeah, I don't know how much difference between a shoulder, which is a gravel, hard packed gravel type of, a vehicle that size and weight would still have to be able to pass over it without, having a problem. So you're right, it could be a gravel shoulder. I'm not quite sure whether or not that's as beneficial as having a solid pavement base.
Yeah, so I think we condition that, once you determine from the fire department what the requirements are, run the revised plan by Don and Matt for their approval, Mr. Petrillo.
I can certainly have that reviewed, assuming that the fire chief is available, but before you actually issue the order of conditions, right? What's your timeline to issue? If it were approved, is it 20 days or what do you have under your bylaw?
21 days after the close of the hearing, the commission would have to issue.
Okay, so we just have we have a question from the audience, Mr. Terry, if you want to. Mr. Terry, did you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Just a couple of questions. I'm having difficulty still figuring out where this water is going to end up onto my land, and I'm going to have more wetlands as time goes on. The way I'm looking at it, the water seems to be diverted instead of going to the northwest over toward Maple Street Extension. I think a lot of that is going to be coming down towards my land. And obviously there's going to be more water than there is now because you got 3 buildings going in and 3 backyards and different garages and other situations and trees that are going to be taken down. So a lot of the water that is now being taken care of by nature is not going to be taken care of. The other thing I was concerned about was a 20-foot wide road. Is that what we have? Is it 20 feet, Jeff?
The driveway you're referring to?
No, the road, Leonard Street Extension or whatever it's going to be called.
It's 20 feet of pavement.
20 feet of pavement, Mr. Terry.
20 feet of pavement. And then where will the water go? I noticed on one side, on the south side, as you go down toward the railroad bed, there's a swale that seems to go down. And on the other side is where this property is, on the north side of this extension, where the 3 houses are. There's no berm, I understand. So the water's going to go into that area there. and that'll be an additional volume of water, because the only water that's going down there now, the people that live down further down, Mr. McBride's daughter and family live down there. That's basically a one-car pathway, the old Leonard Lane, it used to be called, and it's now being hot topped and increased to 20 feet instead of probably 8 or 10 feet. And it's gravel. It's going to be bituminous, and that's going to have to drop the water somewhere. And there is a grade. There's a pretty good drop off there. It's going to drop off. You know the grades better than I do, but it's quite a bit of that water is going to run down the roads. And eventually, am I going to get it? It's down away from this particular project. It now becomes my issue. So I would hope that the board would consider some of these things. And I find it very difficult, and I know there's nothing that Mr. Pedrosa can do about the COVID-19, but it just seems as though we can do better if we have an open plan on a table, and it would be much more agreeable for my brain to encompass what the problems are, where the water's going, the understanding of the thing. And the snow removal is a real, I don't know whether that way that goes down there used to be Leonard Street, then it was Leonard Way. That goes all the way to the railroad bed, as I'm sure you all are familiar. And in order to plow for snow, I have a 30-foot right of way, because I go down and I mow that field that's down there on the trail. And I have to go down there once a week to mow, and I go down there in the winter sometimes to check things out. It is my right of way. I'm just seeing that as a, where do they stop? What's the plow going to do with the snow? Because if he's going to take it all the way down to the end, he's going to have to increase that 20-foot bituminous drive new road that he's making all the way down. Or maybe Mr. Pedrosa can tell us how he's going to make the snow disappear if we have a couple of 20-inch storms 5 days apart in the first of February.
Who's that? Hi, Mr. Terry.
Hello.
Mr. Chairman, can I address those comments?
Yeah, absolutely, Mr.
Sure.
Petrozzi. Go right ahead.
First of all, the road that we're improving, the 20-foot strip of pavement that we're adding to Leonard Street, that road is tilted towards our property, so that any runoff on that pavement is going to be discharged or flow onto my property, and presumably into that little stormwater basin that we have at the intersection of the driveways.
Wait a minute. That's presumably, that's like the permit that you have with the fire chief. You think he said that, or he's hopefully might say that. He doesn't have any place he's going to turn a fire truck around down there, and he won't have under your present plan.
Mr. Terry, please. I've had conversations, and I've tried to have a conversation with you. I'm trying to address your comments. If you let me speak, you let me speak.
Well, when you say,
go ahead, Mr. Petrozzi.
I don't like the word presumably. Is not a word that I understand.
I didn't say, it's not presumably. I didn't say presumably. It's going to, if you look at the drainage calculations and the design of the plan, the roadway the improvements that we're making to Leonard Street up to where the driveways intersect with Leonard Street, that roadway, the drainage or the runoff from that roadway is going to be flow onto our property, not down the roadway. At the present time, somebody plows that right of way right now. I don't know what they do with the snow now. I presume that the person that's plowing it now is going to continue to plow it beyond my property, and perhaps there's going to be a homeowners association with or some joint cooperation relative to plowing that property, and how goes we're currently going.
So are you gonna just plow it to the end of your driveway and then leave a lump of snow there for the person that's down below to take it? This is something that I think should be in the whole plan. The list order of conditions should include a lot of this too. We're nowhere near answering all the questions here, Lou.
Why don't you and I contribute? You plow some and I'll plow some.
Oh, John, okay, Matt, excuse me, Don, can you just go back to the plan, please? Well, let's not continue with the back and forth. It's getting a little,
It wasn't my idea to talk directly to
no,
the applicants.
okay, just respectfully, we can direct the comments through the chair. That would be helpful.
I just assumed we
So,
didn't.
Mr. Petruzzi, the widening of the road extends down about halfway through the McBride property, is that correct?
Well, there's I think that's where the existing house is, right, of Mr. The kid's house is a little bit further up, but the area that's shown as Mr. Colin McBride right now, that's, I think, vacant right there.
Right, so what, I guess the question I'm asking, the road widening is gonna extend how far down as it's proposed now?
I think about 250 feet, if I remember correctly, from the edge of the pavement that's currently on Leonard Street.
So that would fall approximately down towards the end of the Colin McBride property.
Yeah, right where the arrow is
Right
now.
where the arrow is, okay.
The frontage, just so for scale purposes, the frontage requirement is 100 feet.
Okay, we got it.
So it's about 225
Okay.
30 feet.
The road that's gonna be reconstructed is gonna be pitched towards your property, so the runoff is directed into the isolated wetlands
Correct.
via the swale.
Correct. And if you look closely at on the northerly side along the stone wall of our isolated wetland, there's a swale along the edge of the road there that directs all that water into that basin.
Okay,
So there is stormwater management that's going on there that will be an
got it,
improvement.
got it. Okay. Now, the next question is, the town will be responsible for plowing this, correct?
No. We are forming a homeowners, 3 houses will be part of a homeowners association.
Okay,
That will be responsible for maintenance of the drainage elements on the property, the culvert, the basins. So the towns will simply be responsible for, if they want, as part of their drainage easement, the culvert that enters into from Leonard Street, but
so the homeowners association is going to, since we're, looking at the 3 lots here, the homeowners association is basically going to be responsible for plowing this down to, I would guess, to the extent of where you're widening the road, a little bit beyond that double barrel driveway.
right. We're happy to work with, there's one other homeowner down the way, and there's Mr. Terry's property that we're the only 2 abutters. There's plenty of opportunity to work together on some sort of a plan to plow that area, but currently somebody's plowing it all the way to the end. And, we would try to work together on that.
So that would be part of the homeowners, because once you sell the houses, that gets passed off to the homeowners.
Correct.
So you would have to come up with some type of plan or agreement with the folks
Yes,
at the far end of that as to how that's going to be managed, right? And then that gets passed along to the homeowners.
correct. We're not talking we're not talking a very big expense.
And we're getting a little bit, we're digressing a little bit because, you know, the plowing in and of itself doesn't fall under the strict jurisdiction of the commission. What happens to the snow does, obviously. But it seems to me that, you know, as in any other case, when you're plowing a driveway, is going to be pushed off to the sides, right? And when it melts, it's going to end up in the swale and in the isolated wetland.
Right. I don't think there's gonna be any treatment of salt or that kind of thing for that stretch of road. I don't know what the town,
You know, there'd be a condition in the order that, you know, you wouldn't be able to use salt because it's in the resource area.
Right.
Buffer zone.
Through the chair, it's
Yep, Don, go ahead.
the standard condition is recommending salt substitutes, but you know, you don't prohibit it for safety, you know, the liability.
Yeah.
And through the chair, the O&M plan should probably be revised just to note that you don't want the snow to be plowed into the BMP.
right,
Directly in, yeah.
It's the O&M plan that the homeowner association would get is silent on that. As far as I can see, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, so we would need to modify that, Mr. Petrosi. We don't want snow being, you know,
pushed in,
yeah, pushed into the BMPs,
sure.
you know, that detention basin and into the swale, obviously.
Yep.
And then, you know, to answer your other question, Mr. Terry, regarding drainage, you know, unfortunately, Mr. Petrosi's engineer isn't here to discuss this, but what we had to do was, you know, direct as much of the drainage as we, the intent was to direct the drainage into the wetland, but, you know, to your point, it's still going to continue head in that, you know, northwest direction. So, you know, some of it is still going to end up on your property. And that's just the nature of the stormwater flow in that area.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the water, the topo runs from southeast
Don,
to northwest in that area. And some of this is now been moved from east to west. In other words, it's going down parallel to the road. And the more snow and other debris that is put off to the side of the road with this pitch, the more that you have of that is going to stay in this area, because some of the other water that we have in the uplands of this project is already being moved over to a northwesterly direction. The snow and the other things that might rain and might other rainfall and other things that would now fall into that property. And that's quite a bit. It's so many amounts of inches per year, rainfall, etc. Is now going to be encouraged to come along, going east to west onto my property a little bit more. And when you do have that road that's going to be pitched, when it stops being hot topped and now it becomes a gravel, Mr. McBride's daughter is Mr. and Mrs. Hildreth. They own the house that's another 200 to 300 feet down on the left beyond this project. That gravel driveway is going to see quite a bit of the gravel is going to get a wash. The gravel is going to be washed away, and it seems to me as though the engineer isn't available, the plan isn't complete. Why don't we just delay this thing? How can you, unless you're going to give it a negative vote, how can you vote on it tonight? That's about it for me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Terry.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Paul McManus here, if I may, just wanted to remind Mr. Terry and the commission that there is infiltration proposed for to infiltrate roof runoff in an effort to maintain the hydrology up in the upland, so that that water, in addition to the surface flow, there is infiltration proposed for those rooftops.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McManus. And I think my sense, Don, if you can just go back to the plan, please. I mean, my sense is if the construction is designed, or if the roadway is constructed the way it's designed and is pitched in towards the two isolated vegetated wetlands along the stretch that's paved, that should minimize the amount of overall flow that's heading down the street that may create washout on the gravel portion, which is further down. And, Carrie, Melissa, you guys are kind of the stormwater gurus, experts, if you will. Am I making sense, or am I off base on that? I mean, I'll defer to your judgment.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, at this point, I think they've done their due diligence to show that if it is built as designed, it meets our standards.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say the
All
grade,
right.
the grading on the roadways toward Mr. Petrozzi's site, and if that's constructed properly, it should flow into the wetland, and the infiltration basin is mitigation for the increase in impervious area that's being created by the houses and the driveways. So based on the stormwater calculations, it shouldn't increase the flow from the site any more than what's happening today.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you recall, when we introduced this proposal, we had this spreader at the detention basin angled more towards Maple Street Extension. And at that time, the comment from the neighbor at the corner of Maple Street Extension was, can we move that spreader and direct the water a little bit more in the direction that it's going in now? So I understand Mr. Terry's concern. We could make that spreader a little bit longer so it goes around the curve a little bit, so that it equalizes the direction of the water, spreads it out a little bit more. But I think if you remember, the neighbor wrote.
Yep, I recall that.
They asked us to move that so that it was a little bit not a direct flow, even though that's the direction that the water is going in. We sort of mitigated that a little bit by spreading it out and changing the direction a little bit. So it's not an absolute science, but we're certainly able to make that spreader a little bit wider, a little bit longer, and have it distributed a little bit more evenly, if that's helpful.
Yes, thank you. Okay. And my sense is that, I think we're ready to vote on this. This has been going on for 2+ years now. We've gone through multiple iterations of the design. The overall scope of the project, the development has been reduced. So I think I'm comfortable based on Melissa and Carrie's comments on the stormwater Beta's review, DPW endorsement on the current design. So my sense is that we just go ahead and vote on this tonight. And I just want to defer to, the vice chairs, Melissa, Carrie, do you agree? Does that sound okay to you?
I agree, Jeff. That's why we have the consultants review the stormwater.
Okay. Carrie, you,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, we can still vote tonight. Stormwater is just one of the many issues that we're looking at. But yeah.
okay. All right, so
Through the chair,
yes, Don.
this is a suggestion for all the individual votes. Commission might want to consider, the vote on the state act first, so RDA 2023, and then the roadway under the bylaw, which would be HCC 33, then taking, each house individually after that, maybe lot 1, 2, 3, just as a suggestion.
Yep, no, that's a good suggestion. That was what I was thinking as well, Don. So just to recap, Mr. Petrosi, so you're going to withdraw 39, which is the removal of the drain pipe, widen
Yes.
the road and install the berm, and you're going to
Yes.
withdraw the filing for the fourth house, which is 38, lot 4A.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Under 3 houses.
Okay, so why don't we start with, why don't we start with 2020-3, which is the request for determination of applicability under the bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act. This is the continuation of the widen and pavement of Leonard Street and the construction of 2 driveways. So if I get a motion to approve the RDA as,
Can I ask a question first? The driveways are with the road, they're not with the lots?
Through the chair.
Jane?
The approval of the driveways is with the road, not with the lots?
Well, there were a portion of the 2 driveways fall within the buffer zone across the street, so that would be subject to the RDA.
Okay, thank you.
So if I get a motion to issue a negative determination under the RDA as discussed.
So moved, this is Jim.
So we have a motion made by Jim, and do we have a second?
I'll second, Melissa.
Melissa is seconding, and we'll go through the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Ed, is he deaf or is he?
Ed? Ed, you're on mute. We'll go.
Aye. Aye.
Ed is an aye. Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff, I'm an aye. All right. Okay. So let me just get my bearings straight here for a second. So that was that one. Okay. And we have a notice of intent to construct the roadway for the subdivision. This is HCC 33. And this is under the bylaw only. If I can get a motion to approve.
So moved, this is Jim.
Jim is made the motion, and do we have a second?
A second, it's Melissa.
Melissa second. We'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving along, this is HCC 35, 0 Leonard Street, Lot 1A, a notice of intent for the single-family house. If I can get a motion to approve with the special conditions as discussed.
So moved. It's Jim.
Jim made the motion in a second.
A second.
Melissa made the second. We'll do the roll call. Melissa,
I think we're gonna get
Aye.
Gary,
consideration for
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine.
No.
So Janine is a nay. Ted,
Nay.
Ted is a nay, and Jeff is an aye. All right. So lot 2A, HCC 36, notice of intent. This is a continuation to construct a single-family home. And again, this is just under the bylaw. Do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent?
So moved. It's Jim.
Jim made the motion, second.
Second.
Melissa made the second. And we'll go through the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted.
Nay.
Ted is a nay, and Jeff is an aye. Okay. So HCC 37, this is lot 3A. Again, this is only under the bylaw, which is a notice of intent. If I can get a motion to approve with the special conditions, please.
So moved, Jim.
Jim made the motion in a second.
Second.
Melissa made the second. We'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine.
Nay.
Janine is a nay. Ted,
Nay.
Ted is a nay, and Jeff, I'm an aye.
He's not gonna make. any
Okay.
money in the driveway he's gonna put in.
And I think that wraps up the hearing for Leonard Street. Mr. Petrosi, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, commission members. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been a long road, but again, we appreciate you working with us on our request. Thank you.
We'll do a good job. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right, Don.
Wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. We have everything stuff down here.
Okay. So moving back to the work session items when you're ready, Don.
Yes. I think we left off at DPW townwide roadway.
Yep.
If you guys were, previously discussed a 2-year extension for the drainage, and now you're considering a 2-year extension for the roadways.
Yeah, and to your previous comment, I think it makes sense to keep that consistent. So I'm good with it. To your point, I think this has been working well from a commission standpoint and from a DPW standpoint. So I'm good with extending it for another 2 years. And let me just open it up to commission members for their comments or questions.
Sounds good to me.
All right, questions or comments from the audience? All right, if I can get a motion to approve the extension of the determination of applicability for the townwide roadway work.
So moved.
Jim has made the motion in a second.
A second.
Melissa made the second. We'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. All right. And moving along, DPW, this is the townwide tree work. Request for extension on the determination of applicability, again for 2 years, so it's consistent with the other two. Questions or comments from the commission?
Of course, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Harris.
How does this affect trees that are on designated scenic ways?
That comes under the planning board's purview. So this would also get, if it's a town tree, And if they want to take it down, if it's dead, that's how we deal with these. If they're live trees, that's under the tree bylaw, which is under the tree warden. And then if it's scenic road, planning board has purview over that as well.
So they would need two approvals, Ed, an approval from,
I'm good. I'm good.
okay. All right, if I can get a motion to approve the, if I can get a motion to approve the townwide tree determination of applicability,
Can you, so moved.
and a second, please.
I'll second. Melissa.
Okay, Melissa seconded, and if, we'll do the, sorry, I just gotta respond to a question from a public member here. So we'll do the roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
And Jeff's and I. Okay. All right. FBC Fox Hollow, Don, this is a project change request.
Yes. So what I'm showing you is driveway treatment for the roadway subdivision. And then this is the access into the Sudbury Valley Trustees open space in the parking area.
Yep.
As you can see, this is problematic. So they've basically asked, they've been working with the Sudbury Valley Trustees, and they just want to basically do a project change to make, so there's no longer a curb there, it'll just look like that.
Right, so they want to get rid of the curbing. That's like a little parking area right there, correct?
Exactly. So they want to make it just like how it's easy access for the driveway for the homeowners. They'd like to make it easy access for the people who are going to go visit the open space to park their cars in here. So instead
Okay,
of just the Cape Cod berm, it's going to be more of like this, and it would just fade into the parking area.
right. Okay, so I just have a question from a public participant, Mr. Frostbeater. Did you have a comment or question?
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. This is Steve Frobeater. I'm a director of the Hopkinton Area Land Trust, and I was asked to attend tonight to speak on behalf of this. So the Hopkinton Area Land Trust holds the conservation restriction on the Sudbury Valley Trust property, which is known as Whitehall Woods. And there's a trail there at the trailhead begins at the tail end of where the truck is. So this is a 3-car trailhead parking that was designed in when it was permitted. We've looked at the size of a 3-car trailhead parking, and it's somewhere between 27 and 30 feet wide. So we would request that when that berm is cut, that bituminous Cape Cod berm is cut and replaced with a transitional piece, that it be at least 27 feet. I was out there today, measured it off. It could actually be up to 45 feet wide to allow you not to have to walk over a berm to get to the trail. But it would be particularly important for it to be at a minimum 27 feet wide so that the 3 cars can pull in it.
Okay, I don't foresee that as being an issue. The applicant here has been very cooperative with the commission's requests. So I don't, again, I don't foresee that as an issue. Don, do you know of any information to the contrary? I'm just looking, I saw the letter from, I think they'd be amenable to that. Do you agree, Don?
Yeah, I know they've been discussing it with SVT, and I don't see why they wouldn't want to discuss with Halt as well.
So we're here tonight SVT is the property holder. We're the CR holder. We're here doing the work of both of us.
Right.
But through the chair,
Yep.
The project change is within the roadway right of way. So this would be the DPW's jurisdiction, it's not private property, I guess is what I'm saying. It's town land.
Okay.
So,
Well, that being as it may, I think, my sense is that, the DPW, SVT and Halt can all, I guess what I'm saying is I don't foresee an issue with the minimal width that Halt is requesting.
I don't either.
I think that everyone's going to be agreeable to that. So,
Yeah, I think they want people to easily access the parking area.
yeah,
That's the goal.
yep, yep. Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from commission members? Questions or comments from other audience members? All right, this is a project change request, so we'll take a vote on it. Can I have a motion to approve the project change as discussed? And with this request made by Halt. On the width, Jim has made the motion. Second,
Second.
that was
Melissa.
Melissa.
Yeah, that was Melissa.
Okay, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you and the commission.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Hag Higgy, 19 Stony Brook Road, 3-year extension permit request.
Yeah, on the screen, if anybody has any questions.
Nope, I think this is pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments from the commission?
No.
Questions or comments from the audience? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the project change, or excuse me, the extension request for 3 years?
I'll make that.
Jim made the motion, second,
Second.
and Ted made the Ted seconded, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. All right. So Aho. This is a discussion regarding the conservation restriction for 42 and 44 West Elm Street. Don.
Yeah, the state has approved it, and the state is looking for the commission to sign one of these pages. There it is.
So this is going to be recorded at the registry, so we have to do an actual signing.
Yeah, and because this one, like, I know DEP has told us the commission issues permits that don't need a notary, so electronic signatures are okay. This one, we're gonna have to get notarized. Yeah, in COVID time. So I think because if we get a majority of the members to sign it, and if you sign it, Anna's a notary, she knows your signature and she knows who you are. So Anna should be able to do the notary based on the chair signing it.
Yeah, we can do it that way, or as you suggested earlier, Don, we just set it up at the town hall and each
Right.
individual member, when they get a chance, can swing by and sign,
Yeah.
buzz in and
I might,
sign.
yeah, obviously I'd have this as a hard piece of paper. I might have a bunch of signature pages on permits we've already issued electronically that the registry's not happy about. So I might have a stack of them for you, so when you come
Yeah,
in.
I think that'll work. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Fine with me.
When will we know? I mean, how will we know? You'll send an email, obviously. Right?
Yeah, I'd send an email out saying, okay, I got a manila envelope down there with a bunch of pages and I got a pen in the manila envelope. Hopefully you'll be able to swing by, ring the back door. It's a buzzer. The police department will let you in. You go in, do your John Hancocks and then leave.
By back door, you don't mean the basement, right? You just mean the.
Yes, I mean the back, the handicapped access to the rear door, not the side door, not the front door.
Oh,
the
yeah,
rear
okay. To
door
the
of
basement.
Town Hall. That's been set up with a ringer, a doorbell buzzer with a camera that the police department dispatcher can see. So they'll see you ringing the bell, they'll hit the buzzer, let you in, and then they'll want to see you leave too,
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So why don't we do that, Don? I think everyone is pretty much working from home at least, part of the time now. So that I don't think that's going to be a real challenge for, each
Okay.
member to get in there and do this. It doesn't have to be, it can be done over a 2-week period or something, right?
Right.
So,
We'll do the best we can to get all this, so it's one-stop shopping and try to reduce, you guys having at least for this and all the past ones. And then as we go forward, we'll do it like hopefully once within every 21 days.
yep. Yeah. I think that sounds reasonable.
We should organize a COVID signing party.
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
No, we'll just stay in a line, 6 feet apart, masks.
Okay.
So you
All
guys
right.
are okay with signing the CR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we touch base on commission reorg, can we just jump to the public forum requests?
Yes.
Okay, let me just close this out. And I just wanted to bring this to the commission's attention. We've had a lot of residents asking about the forest cutting plan. And just wanted to make sure the commission was okay in regards to the order of conditions that was issued for part of if I crack open the forest cutting plan, scroll down to his plan. Let's see. I meant to twist this.
So just for the folks in the audience, I see that a couple people have their hand raised. If you can just let us, let Don kind of provide an overview and then the commission will deliberate and then we'll open it up to public comment.
So the forest cutting plan has two parcels. It has the parcel here and the parcel here. This parcel was not part of the order of conditions for 1636. This section was. So, and there's an ongoing condition that there would be a permanent removable barrier behind the fence line. And if I could crack open the 1636. See if I can find the order. Post-hearing documents. Crack open this one right here. Just scroll down to the condition, which is basically your PIB, which is what is the impetus for a PIB was historically there was a lot of lawn creep on a lot of jobs that the commission would establish
An area
limit of
beyond an area beyond which there would be no more development.
Exactly. But, and so basically, the chain link fence is the PIB, which permanent area of no disturbance. So basically, in a DCR plan, it's not getting, it's just harvesting the trees. It's always going to be woods. So once the trees are harvested, the woods would regrow. It can't turn into an area where there's going to be new solar panels, or it's, oh, okay, that now I'm going to, pasture my cows and horses out there, or this is where I'm going to grow all my corn. It can't have a change in use. So in essence, I guess, is the commission, agreeable that the forest cutting plan does not impact the intention of condition 77 under the order of conditions?
Yeah, I think, my sense, Don, is that on that one particular parcel, because the other one it doesn't apply to, obviously. It's not a change in land use. It's not being developed. There's no lawn creep. There's tree harvesting that is taking place, but it's going to be maintained as upland. And my understanding is it's not a wholesale removal of trees. It's going in, I believe, is my understanding, and selectively harvesting the larger hardwood, but it's not change, it's being left to as upland, being left to revegetate. So in my mind, I'm okay with it. And I think on the other parcel, because the harvesting is falling under DCR regulations, it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction, but the same thing applies, right? And
there's an exemption for forest cutting in the buffer zone and in the wetland. This current proposal is no cutting in the wetland, just the upland, which there's an exemption under the state wetlands law and the town's wetland bylaw.
Right. So I'm okay with it. I'll open it up to the other commission members for discussion.
So it was tree cutting for harvesting, not necessarily tree cutting to reduce the amount of screening that was already approved between the neighborhood and the solar array.
Correct. It's harvesting subject to the Forest Cutting Act, the state law, Forest Cutting Practices Act.
Yeah, but to Janine's point, Don, there was, as part of the project, there was agreed upon screening that was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, as far as I believe, now the planning board approved, and if I can scroll down to the, well, I can get you a cleaner plan, but it should be right in here.
So the harvesting that's taking place is not in the area of the screening that was required by the.
Yeah, planning board required supplemental screening along the fence line. I don't believe he's going to harvest the newly planted supplemental screening plants. He wants to take out the existing large trees. He wants to harvest the woods, not the area of the approved work line. He wants to go beyond the limit of work and take out the trees.
I think if I may kind of add to what Janine was pointing out, if that's supplemental screening, is it meant to supplement the forest that's already there? So to make it thicker than what was there, therefore, if you're taking away screening of existing forests, it's not the same screening that was intended.
Yeah, but screening doesn't come under the commission's purview. It's,
No, it doesn't, but
it would be the
yeah,
planning board purview.
right.
Pass the book.
Yeah, I would agree. It's an issue for the planning board. But Nadine makes a good point. Something's motivating the forest cutting plan, and it may be, increasing the, whatever it is, the exposure. But yeah, I would agree. It's planning board that needs to review this.
Yeah, I think, from a commission perspective, Don, if the planning board is in agreement with it, then, I think it falls within, the purview of what the DCR is regulating. If the planning board was intending for that to remain in place, with the supplemental screening, then, that's kind of their call, not ours.
So
Do
the
we know if
screening
the
is
applicant even has?
outside.
Sorry, Janine, go ahead.
No, I just want, so the screening area is outside any buffer zones under our jurisdiction, I assume.
No.
No?
I think some of it was in the buffer zone, Janine.
Oh, okay.
So we could say
No.
no to tree removal within the buffer zone, or did I miss something?
Yeah, I mean, did we approve for any of the trees to get removed in that
No.
buffer zone? Oh, well, we couldn't, because if it's part of a forest cutting plan, we don't have a say.
There's an exemption.
Yeah, so nothing was approved to be removed in the initial filing in that area. So this is it's not even being filed with us. We were being notified as a courtesy because the request went through the DCR. Because it is exempt from the act and the bylaw.
The DCR is looking at it. Very microscopically. They're just looking at the forest cutting plan. They probably don't know the history or even filings with us. Certainly not with planning board, right?
Agreed, yeah. I would imagine that to be true, yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, Don.
This is the second forest cutting plan. There was one 3 years ago, and it had to be amended because the original forest cutting plan was going to remove the trees where the solar panels were going. And he had to withdraw because that would have been a change in use. You couldn't just harvest the trees there and then put solar panels there.
Right.
So the first round, the DCI was well aware of that. And they basically said, they said, yeah, as long as this isn't part of the forest cutting plan, then it would be fine. So now, you know what I mean? So now so now the forest cutting plan is here. And as long as this doesn't turn into a cornfield or pasture or a lawn or solar panels, it is an exempt activity under the state wetlands law and the town's wetland bylaw.
Yeah.
And the commission's role in this forest cutting plan is just a comment on the wetland delineation.
Yeah. No, so from our perspective, Don,
Why not?
my sense is that it's okay. However, to Janine's point, if an agreement was made with the planning board and the property owner on screening, which I don't know, right? I don't think any of us know. Then, the question needs to be directed to the planning board, and they
How
have
can
to,
we make?
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, how can we let the planning board know that this request, or that we've got this plan now?
They discussed this at their
Through the
meeting
chair.
last night. I don't know what was talked about, but I know it was on the
Oh,
agenda.
they did. Okay.
Yeah, Don, go ahead.
The principal planner is well aware of this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I just don't want to approve this, well, we don't approve it, but I don't
Right.
want the work to be done. And then have, someone come back to us and say, hey, this was agreed upon that this was gonna remain in place as part of the screening, why did you let this, why wasn't this raised? That's the only point. But if the principal planner who oversees the planning board is aware of it, then, I would imagine that he's talked to the planning board. But let me just open it up. We have some questions from the public. So Mr. Bagberg,
And through the chair, it's after 9. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
yeah, we'll just take a couple comments, Don, and then,
Yep.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, this is Chris Hagberg. How are we doing?
good, how are you?
Been better. So yeah, I mean, our big issue here is that this was agreed upon. We worked hard between the planning board and the Conservation Commission to have this, shielding stay in place. And I feel like this is just a bait and switch, like we were sold a bill of goods and now they're just gonna come and tear all those trees away that are somewhat shielding us. And we're gonna be left with like arborvitaes that are now what?
5.5 feet tall.
Yeah, 5 feet tall. So, and even then, I mean, and we're shielding a hill. If you've ever been out here, it's a hill. So we are looking up at a sea of glass.
Okay. Okay,
So I know that maybe this isn't, your deal, but this is what was promised to the neighborhood, that don't worry, these trees are going to be here in between. It'll be fine.
There'll be no more cutting because it's wetlands.
Yeah, and they won't be cutting anything because, oh, that's all wetlands back there. That's why we started the solar array where we started it.
right.
So, and we have been having additional water. That 100-year drain has now overflowed 5+ times. So now you're going to take more trees away and we're going to have more overflow.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It just seems like having wetlands defined just pretty much means nothing now. I'm not sure if that's the case. Because I mean, they're going to be cutting right up to, right up
They're
to the
cutting
wetlands.
in the wetlands.
Yeah, we understand that. And
We
unfortunately,
never knew that cutting in wetlands was allowed. That would have been good if they shared that with us during all these meetings.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people assume that wetlands are protected.
right. No, I can understand that point of view.
Through the chair,
Yes, Don.
the forest cutting plan, there is no cutting in the wetland, the white area. It's in the upland. But under the forestry cutting law, they have the right to cut in the wetlands. They've chosen not to cut in the wetland.
Right.
Don, is it in the buffer zone? The
There's a
100 foot?
Correct. This,
Yes.
they're
it is.
indicating the wetland is right through here.
Yep.
And then everything that's hashed
Yep.
is upland. So, and
But
there'll
it's-
be to access, to get these harvested trees out, there might be a little clearing in here, but it's just for getting the
Well,
trees up and out.
I guess I'm just wondering that condition 78 in our decision, or
Yeah, yeah.
so there should be no further alteration or activity within the wetland resource area or the wetland buffer zone without order conditions, termination of applicability or confirmation. So are they doing anything in the buffer zone?
Yes.
Under the
Yes.
the state forest cutting law, yeah, they're doing it in the buffer zone. But when you get back to this without an order of conditions or an exemption, forestry cutting plan is exempted under state law, Wetlands Protection Act, and the town's wetland bylaw. So there is an exemption for harvesting trees.
But I feel like you might be able to argue that that's an exemption for forest cutting But that exemption is not taking into effect is not, the exemption, it doesn't, that's just like a broad exemption. It's not looking at something else that might have been done on the property. That exemption, I would think, would be for a property that hasn't been touched yet. But this has, and we have a condition here.
And it says exemption confirmation from the Conservation Commission.
And the order of condition only focuses on this section. It does not focus on this section.
Right.
Right, right.
This area
Right.
was on.
I mean, in the area
Yeah,
that
this
we
area
have
was
an order
untouched.
for.
The limit of
Let
work
me-
here.
So I just have one more public comment, if I can just, and it's just identified as iPhone, so I don't know what your name is, but if there's someone else who had their hand raised and had a comment. Hello? Hello? All right, I don't know if you're on mute, but we can't hear you.
Can you unmute him?
No, I'm typing him a message right now, though.
While we're doing that, I have a quick question. Does this forestry exemption allow the cutting of every single tree or only trees that are big enough to be sellable?
You can't clear cut everything. Like in the wetlands, it would only be 50%. And in the uplands, that's what the forest, that's what DCR looks at. You can't clear cut, but there's a certain amount of basal area you can remove. And if they apply to do more than the law allows, DCR would say, no, this doesn't meet the law.
But there's no regulation about the size of the tree. So if none of the trees were really usable, they could still get rid of 50 of them under the forestry law?
Yeah, 50%, yeah. And I'm not an expert on forestry law by any means, but that's what the whole plan is about. They have to meet the regulations of the Forest Cutting Act. So they write down how much, trees are going to take, and DCR says, no, that's too much, or, okay, yeah, that's fine.
So
That's
Don,
why it has to get approved.
So Don, I think, here's what I think we should do. I think we should defer this to the principal planner, because really this, in my mind, is, there was an agreement between the planning board and the developer that, a certain buffer zone was going to remain in place, wasn't going to be disturbed. Then, that's something that needs to be worked out with the planning board. I think, from our perspective, my sense is that putting that aside, he has the ability, under the DCR permit, to go in and do selective harvesting of trees, not clear cutting. But, in my mind, really, I think the concern is that the aesthetic buffer, not the wetland buffer, is being removed when it was previously agreed upon that was going to remain in place to shield, the visibility from the solar panel, from the subdivision. So, and I mean, we don't know that. That was a decision that we weren't involved in. So, I think John needs to be involved in that. I mean, does that make sense to everyone?
For the chair.
Yeah.
Yep, Ted, go ahead.
We know for sure that number 78 there is overruled by the DCR forestry rule. Do we know that for sure?
I think that 78 is a different issue. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, whatever, but I think that if I were to interpret it, so we approve just for the portion of the site that the order of condition applies to. I feel like 70, we approve the plan assuming that there would be, nothing touched in the buffer zone, regardless of whether it was for screening or just protection of the wetlands. And that's, in my mind, what I voted on and approved as part of the project, understanding that that's a buffer and it's not going to be touched. So we allow the project to go on and, as far as it's mapped out. So I think that condition 78 would apply to taking down trees, because now you're changing what we approved, regardless of a visual buffer. It's protecting the wetlands as well.
Is that something we should ask town council to look at? That might give some control over at least that one lot that has the solar farms. I guess we can't do much about the other one.
I think they would need to, I think that they would need to come in front of us for a determination of applicability or an exemption request to do the work that they want to do within the area that the order covers.
Mr. Chair.
Jim, I absolutely agree with Melissa, and I don't think that condition. Certainly, for me, an exemption under that condition, I would never have thought of a forest cutting plan as being that exemption just by law. You know what I mean?
I think the exemption talked about in 78 has nothing to do with a forest cutting plan exemption.
I agree, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think we ever would have anticipated that in approving that condition.
Now, is there an appeals process or something we can do, because this is going to be starting on August 1st? So is there some way we can have it delayed?
I think if they cut trees within the area that we have the order of conditions, it would be a violation of our order of conditions, and we would be able to apply enforcement action unless they come and get permission.
Through the chair?
Yeah, Don, go ahead.
I would think that order of conditions, standard condition, exemption confirmation is referring to the regulations where you have, and the bylaw, where it talks about the exemptions. And the agricultural exemption is in here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tom.
Hey.
Well, how is it how is it they plan on starting cutting on August 1st, and what's today? Did they just find out about this, or 2 weeks ago, or what?
Well, you guys haven't met for 2 weeks. And this came in, I think, after we had the last meeting.
Okay, all right.
So this is the first we could get it to you.
Why don't we reach out to the applicant or the developer, Don? Let them know that, this is something that needs more consideration. And just
Do you mean the property owner, or because the developer?
Yeah, the property owner.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the property owner. And just ask them to hold off, this needs further consideration. We just need to take a look at it, and we don't want any disturbance until we've had the ability to, take a look at this with the, for us to think about it as a board and to get feedback from John and the planning board on, what their position is regarding the aesthetic buffer.
So just as a logistical thing.
Yep.
As you know, you don't have jurisdiction over here. So in essence, by telling him to stop here, because he can't get the logs harvested out through here. So in essence, by you saying, we're going to take jurisdiction here, you're taking jurisdiction of the Forestry Cutting Act law by prohibiting him to do that. Those are good questions for town council, I'd assume.
Yeah.
That's way over my head.
Yeah, I think.
I just don't want you guys to open yourself up for litigation.
Yeah, I think we should get town council to weigh in, Don. I think Janine made the suggestion. And in the interim, let's just reach out to the property owner and let them know, kind of the process we're going through here.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Absolutely.
Don,
Yep.
Matt, are you still on with us?
I'm still here.
Did you have an opinion?
I think town council input seems warranted to me.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we should probably take just a little vote, asking me to reach out to the town manager's office, ask permission to get a hold of town council.
Yeah, can I get a motion to have Don reach out to town council to get an opinion?
So moved. This is Ed.
Ed made the motion, a second.
Second.
Second by Ted. We'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim. Jim. Jim's still with us. Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Jeff is an aye. Let me just see if Jim is.
Did you get
still-
my vote, Jeff?
No, we didn't hear it.
Yeah, so I'm an aye. I got cut off again.
Okay,
I'm an
thank you.
aye.
Okay. So the motion is unanimous. All right, was that the only other additional item, Don?
Well, you're running out of time. I think you'd probably want to table the other thing. Plus, yeah, number one, they had sort of pushed it off anyway, so I don't think they're waiting for an answer. And we can do the commission reorg later, next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I know Elaine was wondering about if the commission wanted to reappoint the CPC. So that's the only one you guys appoint. All the other ones are recommendations, and no one's jumping down my throat about the other ones. I don't know if you want to take, Jim's the current CPC rep. I don't know if you
Jim,
want to.
do you
I nominate Jim for the,
what's that? Sorry.
yes, I would love to continue.
Okay, so I got a motion to have Jim continue as the CPC appointee for the commission.
I'll make the motion.
That's Janine in a second.
Second.
Carrie.
That is a second. Roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim.
Do I have to abstain?
Yes, you
Oh, yeah,
do.
Jim, you have to abstain. Yep. Ed, sorry. It's getting late.
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. All right, and the commission reorg, I guess I will remain chair for another couple of weeks.
I nominate
Years,
Chair
years.
going forward.
Definitely years.
Couple of
Uh,
weeks.
I nominate Melissa and Carrie as our vice
We'll push it to the next meeting. It's been a long night, so. All right. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Ted made the motion. Jim seconded. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Neen,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. All right, everyone. Thank you and have a good evening.
Good night.
Aye.
All right, take care. Stay safe.